Most people think love is simply about finding the right person. That if you search long enough, pray hard enough, or wait patiently enough, eventually someone will appear and all your loneliness will vanish. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if love is not first about finding, but about becoming? And what if the reason God keeps blocking certain relationships in your life has less to do with his refusal and more to do with his protection? Why do so many people, intelligent, well, meaning sincere people, find themselves broken in love? Why is it that we repeat the same cycles, fall for the same faces with different names, and then call it bad luck or fate? Could it be that the real question is not whether love exists for you, but whether you are ready to carry the weight of what true love demands? And think about it, how many times have you or someone sat in the quiet of your room, scrolling through your phone, the feeling, that deep HE of loneliness, that whisper of desperation that says, what if it never happens for me? What if I'm not enough? What if I'm destined to be alone? And in those moments, the temptation is strong, settle for less, cling to what is toxic, tolerate what is beneath you, because something feels better than nothing. But desperation, my brothers and sisters, is not love. It is bondage, and bondage will destroy you faster than loneliness ever will. Here's the truth, and waiting on the right relationship is not passive. It is not sitting in a corner twiddling your thumbs, hoping for a miracle. Waiting is work. Waiting is preparation. Waiting is becoming the kind of person who doesn't just receive love, but who can sustain it. And hear me well, God will not give you what you are not prepared to protect. He will not hand you a gift you are too broken, too immature, or too distracted to carry. So here is the challenge I lay before you. Stop asking, when will the right person come? Start asking, am I becoming the person who is ready when they do? Because the worst thing in life is not being single. The worst thing is being unprepared when God finally answers your prayer. And here's the mic drop: every no you've ever received, every heartbreak, every rejection you thought was punishment may have been God's greatest act of mercy. He wasn't keeping love from you. He was keeping destruction from reaching you. You are not ready for what you think you want. That's the uncomfortable truth. People come to me and say, why hasn't God sent me the right person yet? Why do I keep running into heartbreak? And I tell them, perhaps in a way they don't want to hear, that may be the reason is not because God is cruel, not because life is unfair, but because you are not yet capable of sustaining what you're asking for. Love is not a reward for loneliness. It is a responsibility that demands growth, sacrifice, and maturity. And if you are unprepared, it will crush you. Why do so many relationships collapse? Why do so many people spend years in cycles of chaos, heartbreak, and disappointment? Is it simply fate? A cruel trick of destiny? Or is it perhaps a reflection of their own choices? Their unwillingness to confront their flaws, their fear of being alone, back away from it, their desperate attempt to cling to something rather than become someone. These are not easy questions, but they are the questions you must face if you want to understand why God sometimes says no. I think of a young woman I once spoke with. She said, I've prayed for years for God to send me a husband, but nothing happens. I've tried dating, I've tried waiting, and I feel abandoned. As we talked, what emerged was this: her life was stagnant. She was waiting, but not building. She was praying for a man of strength, vision, and faith, while she herself was unwilling to cultivate those very qualities in her own life. And when she did meet men, she would chase after them, cling to them, tolerate mistreatment, because she was terrified of being alone. Her passivity bred resentment. Her desperation drove away the very thing she longed for. And here is the brutal truth desperation repels. It destroys dignity. It undermines the very... Marriage is not some magical solution to your loneliness. It's not a prize God hands you when he feels you've suffered long enough. It is a crucible of responsibility, an arena in which your flaws will be exposed and your character tested. And if you enter that arena without preparation, without strength, without vision, without humility, it will not heal you. It will break you. So the challenge is learn, stop waiting passively, stop chasing recklessly, start building yourself into the kind of person who can carry the weight of love without being crushed by it. Develop competence, cultivate integrity, and pursue wisdom. Become the sort of man or woman whose life is so grounded in strength and faith that when the right person comes, the relationship is not an escape from emptiness, but an expansion of wholeness. And here's the truth you cannot run from. God does not withhold to punish you. He withholds to protect you from yourself, from your immaturity, from the destruction you would create if he gave what you are not yet ready to hold. That is not rejection. That is mercy. And until you see it that way, you will keep blaming fate when the real work that needs to be done is within you. That is the mic dropper. Stop asking for someone to complete you and start becoming someone complete. Because love is not found by the desperate. It is entrusted to the prepared. If you don't know your worth, you will always bargain for less than you deserve. That is the hard truth. And in relationships, that ignorance is devastating, because when you don't understand your value, you make compromises that strip you of dignity. You tolerate what destroys you, and then you wonder why love keeps slipping through your fingers. Ask yourself this: why do so many people, bright, capable, full of potential, end up entangled with partners who diminish them, use them, betray them? Is that fate? Some cruel trick of the universe? Or is it more uncomfortably a mirror held up to their own lack of self-respect? Because you cannot consistently attract what you do not believe you are worthy of. And if deep down you see yourself as broken, unlovable, disposable, then you will cling to people who treat you exactly that way. I recall speaking with a young man, intelligent, ambitious, with every tool to succeed, but he had no sense of his own value. He longed for love, but when he dated, he bent himself into knots to be accepted. He endured manipulation, tolerated disrespect, even excused infidelity, because he was terrified of being abandoned. And with every compromise, he shrank. The more he gave himself and away, the less he had left. And eventually he asked me, why does God keep letting me suffer like this? My response was not what he wanted to hear. God isn't keeping you in suffering. You are, because you haven't yet realized that you were worth more than what you've been tolerating. Here's what you need to understand. Desperation is not attractive. It erodes respect. It signals weakness. People may exploit it for a time, but no one of true value will build their life with someone who does not know their own. Real attraction is built on strength, on competence, on self-respect, on the quiet confidence of someone who knows who they are in God and refuses to be treated as anything less. You see, and wait from it, marriage isn't a gift God places in your lap to soothe your loneliness. And it's not some cosmic lottery where the lucky ones are chosen and the rest are forgotten. No, marriage is a covenant. It demands courage, sacrifice, vision. It is the union of two people who both know their worth and therefore can give love without losing themselves. And if you do not grasp your value before you enter it, the relationship will not heal that wound. It will deepen it. So here is the call. Stop chasing people to prove your worth. Stop clinging to toxicity because you fear being alone. Instead, begin the work of becoming a person of substance. Route yourself. I remember a man who told me about the love of his life, a woman who was beautiful, charming, magnetic. He ignored the fact that she disrespected him, mocked his faith, and undermined his goals. He said, "But you don't understand, there's this spark between us. I can't let it go." He married her against the counsel of family, friends, even his own conscience. And within 2 years, the spark had turned into a fire that burned his life to the ground. Financial ruin, emotional devastation, spiritual collapse. When he came out of it, broken and ashamed, he said, "I thought I was in love. Now I realize I was in bondage." Here's the truth then. Attraction alone cannot sustain a relationship. Without alignment of values, without shared vision, without mutual respect, you are building a house on sand. And when the storm comes, and it always comes, it will not stand. That's why desperation is so destructive. It blinds you to reality. It makes you cling to people who are toxic, narcissistic, unfaithful. And God in his mercy will sometimes slam the door, and not because he's cruel, but because he sees the danger you are too infatuated to acknowledge. And this is the shift you must make. Stop believing that love is just about passion. Start realizing that real love is about partnership. It's about finding someone whose character amplifies your own, whose purpose aligns with yours, whose presence strengthens rather than weakens you. And marriage is not a fantasy to indulge your loneliness. It is a covenant that requires discernment, maturity, and the courage to say no to what is wrong, even when it looks right. So the call to action is this: stop chasing people who sparkle but cannot sustain you. Stop excusing dysfunction because you're afraid of missing out. Instead, demand alignment, demand truth, demand integrity. And if that means walking alone for a season, then walk alone, because it is far better to be single and whole than together and destroyed. And here is the undeniable mic drop truth: rejection is not always loss. Sometimes it is divine protection. Sometimes God's greatest gift to you is the relationship that never began. Right person, wrong time. That phrase sounds romantic, but in reality, it's a tragedy because timing matters. A seed planted in the wrong season doesn't flourish, it dies. And many of you are suffering not because love isn't real, not because you aren't capable of it, but because you are trying to force something in a season that cannot sustain it. Why do so many people struggle in relationships? Why do couples who genuinely care for one another still collapse under the weight of conflict and disappointment? Is it fate conspiring against them? Or is it because they refuse to respect the rhythm of growth, the necessity of preparation, and the reality that even the best intentions cannot replace maturity. I remember a young couple, deeply in love by their own account. They rushed into marriage, not they were ready, but because they were terrified of losing each other. They thought love was enough. But within a year, they were drowning. Finances became chaos. Their unresolved wounds surfaced. And instead of building each other, they broke each other. Later, one of them told me, we weren't bad people. We just weren't ready people. That is a painful lesson, but a vital one. Readiness is not optional. Timing is not a detail. It is everything. Here's the truth: love is not a substitute for preparation. Desperation convinces you that if you don't seize the moment, you'll miss your only chance. But what does desperation produce? Shallow roots, weak foundations, relationships that cannot withstand the storms of life. Real attraction, real commitment is built not just on emotion, but away from it, but on discipline, on the competence to manage your own life, on the strength to carry responsibility, on the patience to endure a season of becoming before demanding a season of receiving. The shift you must make is this: stop seeing waiting as punishment. Waiting is not God's cruelty. It is his strategy. Marriage is not a prize for surviving loneliness. It is an arena of sacrifice, responsibility, and covenant. To step into it unprepared is not brave, it is reckless. And when you treat timing as irrelevant, away from it, you end up sabotaging the very blessing you prayed for. So here's the challenge: stop trying to drag tomorrow's blessing into today. Stop forcing relationships that are not aligned with your current capacity. Use this season to build. Build your faith. Build your vision. Build the strength that will sustain you when the right time finally arrives.